There we go. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with Normal. I'm JM Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's October 13th, Friday the 13th, 2023. And I can't wait to answer all of your burning questions live. So if you've got questions about cannabis policy or how you can make them better wherever you live, you've come to the right place. Let's see who's here. Hey everyone, take a quick second. First, hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when Normal goes live. And drop a note in the comments now. Let me know where you're watching from. Hello, Coleman. Good to see you here. Hey, Jason, what's up? Good afternoon to you, Jacqueline. It is delightful weather, Coleman. It is, in fact, delightful weather. I've been inside all day, but from what I hear, it is, in fact, delightful. From what my watch tells me, it's perhaps a little warm at the moment, but I'll find out in a few minutes when I get to go outside. Hello, Sherry. Happy Friday the 13th to you and Sherry. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sherry. Hello, Shanna. Good to see you here. It's morning, Marguerite. Where are you? Oh, Goldman, were you here for last season? Because it is, in fact, spoopy in this office usually by this time. Hello, Maston in Memphis. Hey, John in Rich Creek. Welcome back. Must be nice in Minnesota, Coleman. Hey, Tree. Aw, you're in North Carolina. It's kind of sad there sometimes, huh? But you're so close to Virginia, where it's just slightly less sad because cannabis is legal for adults and for medical. Happy Friday to you, Fred. Marguerite, you're in Sydney. That's fantastic. Hey, Robin, welcome back. Happy Friday the 13th to you. Northern California, Jacqueline. All right. All right. Shanna, I'm dead. UCLA. Oh, that's great. Maston, when are we coming to Memphis? I personally am not going to Memphis. This isn't going to Memphis. But we do have a Tennessee NORML chapter. Definitely get involved with them. You can find their information on the NORML website at norml.org/chapters. Get hooked up. Yeah, Tree, I think that'll be interesting to see what happens with Cherokee. That's really exciting for North Carolina. Glad to see someone moving forward in that area, if not the rest of the state. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Wishing you well as well, Joe. Can't wait to see you in Key West this December. And everyone who wants to join us at the NORML Key West Legal Seminar, it's November 30th through December 2nd. You can get registered at norml.org/Key West and come hear from fantastic speakers like Joe Bondi. All right, let's get into some news. Now, speaking of states that are doing, I forgot the link. States that are doing fantastic things. It's going to be so much better to talk about Ohio when I can also share the link to that story for you. All right. So listen, this week, early voting in Ohio began, and that's important because issue 2 is on the ballot. And issue 2 is the citizen-initiated ballot measure that will legalize personal possession, home cultivation, and the retail sale of cannabis to adults 21 and older in the great state of Ohio. So will Ohio be the next state to legalize? It could be the 24th state. This is Ohio's second go-round on this. Remember, they didn't like the last ballot initiative they had because it was a constitutional amendment, but this is not. So if you are in Ohio, if you know anyone who lives in Ohio, make sure you or they are getting to the polls. You can vote now in Ohio. Early voting has begun. Make sure you're getting to the polls and voting yes on issue 2 to make Ohio the next state to legalize. It is in fact nice, Tree. Can I speak on the what, William Boyd? Oh, wow. Oh. Coleman says in Minnesota, I got that right? You're celebrating your inaugural Harvest Festival this month. Cool. Is that Croptober for you? Oh, Tree, listen. I'm glad you brought that up. In fact, there is some clowny bill that a member of Congress is trying to put forth to take away funding from states and territories that legalize cannabis. Good luck. Good luck with that. Yes, exactly, Tree. Hey, Holly, good to see you. Holly says, I hope Ohio passes this because I feel like it will push Pennsylvania to finally make a move. I mean, Pennsylvania's been kicking this can down the road for a hot second. Not this session, but the session before I was in Pennsylvania, testifying in front of a committee in favor of adult use and some other pragmatic reforms that the state's medical program needs. And here we are, well over a year later. Still waiting, Pennsylvania. You can do it. I know you can. Oh, wow. A lot of people coming to Coleman. That's pretty cool. Hey, Eric in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hey, Eric. You know, I've had people ask this question. I happen to be in Virginia, and we in this state do not have the ability to have voter referenda or citizens initiatives on the ballot. So, I mean, that's we just legalize legislatively instead. It can be done, and I think Pennsylvania is well on its way down that path. Most of the states that have the ability to legalize via referendum have done so, and the majority of states remaining will need to do so legislatively. Doesn't make it impossible, but this is a perfect segue to what apparently is my other favorite saying. Thank you, Sherry, for this. Elections have consequences, right? So if you vote in terrible people, you're going to get terrible policy out. Right, Tree, the same thing, right? I get it. That's a problem in your state. You can't put it on the ballot either. Listen, we couldn't put it on the ballot in Virginia, and we did it here, and we did it by making sure that we elected people to our legislature who were in favor of that policy change. Literally cannot say it enough. Elections have consequences, and that doesn't have to be a partisan thing. It largely is when it comes to the legislative process. I'm not saying that people in every party don't support legalization, and I'm not saying that elected officials in every party don't support legalization. But it does often come down to it being a partisan issue when you get to the legislative branches of your government. Yeah. Well, Eric, I mean, they can. You just have to keep on keeping on. You'll get there. I know you will. And I am confident in that because we did it here. If Virginia can, so can anyone. Literally anyone. I mean, there's probably some like Iowa. I don't know about you, but Idaho, you got problems out there. Just kidding. That was from my friend Russ. Hey, Daniel in New Hampshire. Good to see you. Hey, Wade. You didn't miss anything yet, buddy. Hey, Duke. What's happening with North Carolina cannabis legalization and legislation? Nothing at the moment, other than the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians did pass a voter referendum to legalize adult use on their tribal land, and that was successful. Other than that, nothing's happening in North Carolina at this moment, but when the legislative cycle begins back up early 2024, we'll see what your legislature brings to the table. I think it would be smart for North Carolina to, at least take a bite of the medical cannabis apple in a meaningful way. Meaningful way. I know, Tree. I know. It's terrible when people around you don't vote the way you want them to, huh? Look, I don't buy this, Eric. I get what you're saying, but I'm not sold on that whole notion that corporate cannabis, whatever that is somehow opposed to adult use legalization. I've heard that narrative before. I've certainly seen existing operators not want to have any, large market expansion until they feel like they've recouped their investment in a state. That's capitalism. But I haven't really seen that. Let's prevent the ability for I have not personally witnessed businesses saying, no, I don't want to sell more of my product to more people. But it is an interesting narrative that we hear. I also have heard this about about operators being opposed to personal cultivation. And I think that what we've definitely seen are some people representing dispensaries speak in an unsophisticated manner on the topic and perhaps not convey talking points appropriately. But by and large, again, have not ever heard that from any large scale operator. That'd be like, your grocery store opposing your ability to grow, lettuce at home or whatever. How about I just go ahead and block that, whatever. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, friends. All right, so Ohio, go vote. TLDR. You can do it. Speaking of voting, let's get all the election stuff up quick. In Texas, advocates with Freedom Act Lubbock say they've collected 8,800 signatures and that they plan to turn in 10,000 signatures by the mid-October deadline in order to force a marijuana depenalization vote in that city. So that's kind of cool. Not not just decrim, but depenalization. So good job, activists in Lubbock with Freedom Act Lubbock. I think that's a smart reach, making sure that you're aiming for more than double the required signatures. And they say they've already gathered nearly twice as many as what they need to qualify. What in the? I don't even understand what that is. Okay, moving on. Let's see, what else? Oh, I could have gotten those in there too. All right, here is something. We talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago, but yes, it will come as no surprise to you all to know that California's Governor Newsom signed into law 2 bills that expand marijuana rights, one for patients and one for employees. So great, Governor Newsom. Of course, he also vetoed some other legislation related to cannabis. Specifically the one that sought to allow cannabis consumption facilities to serve their customers non-cannabis food or beverage products and allow them to have tickets to live performances. Apparently, the governor expressed some concern that he thought this legislation would undermine California's smoke-free workplace protections. Those are words you said, Gavin. But the first bill will permit qualified patients that are 65 and older to access certain cannabis products in private hospitals or other eligible healthcare facilities. It doesn't allow, smoking or vaporizing herbal cannabis in healthcare settings, and healthcare staff won't be administering these products. But California will join a handful of states, including Connecticut and Maine, that have already enacted legislation explicitly permitting the use of certain cannabis products for hospitalized patients under certain circumstances. Virginia has a allowance for healthcare facilities, but not for residential healthcare facilities, not hospitals, but like nursing homes and hospice type facilities. And then the other bill will make it unlawful for employers to request information from an applicant for employment relating to the applicant's prior use of cannabis. And this is actually an expansion upon worker protections that were passed into law in 2022. So those new laws will take effect 2024. Yes, Cody America, we did talk pretty much the whole first part of the show was about Ohio. Early voting is open in Ohio. Thank you. Thank you, Cody. All right. I like this one. We talked a little bit about this last week. I think someone asked about it, and you didn't miss it, Cody. And I think this is interesting. I'm not okay. So imagine that you go to your local pharmacy, not like CVS pharmacy, but like, Smith Family Pharmacy. And imagine that's where you get your medical cannabis, at your local independent pharmacy. Well, if you're in Georgia, that's not too far off for you, because in fact, Georgia regulators are rolling that plan out. In fact, their board of pharmacy is accepting applications from independent pharmacies right now. About 25% of independent pharmacies in the state have already applied to do this. So, Georgia's medical cannabis program has was enacted years ago. Years ago. Can't remember what was 2017, something like that. 16, 17 is when that effort started in Georgia. And right now there are about 14,000 registered patients in the state, but there is very few places where they can actually, at least there's some places now. For years there was nowhere that patients in Georgia could access product. And so this will I'm looking right now, tree to see. Yeah, an estimated 120 independent pharmacies have reportedly already agreed to carry the products, and there are about 400 independent pharmacies operating in the state of Georgia. Now, what I think is interesting, well, there's a lot of interesting things about Georgia, but Georgia, Texas, and Virginia all started off with initially the same medical cannabis program proposal, and they've all gone in very different directions. Very. But they still call Georgia's program low THC. And I think that that's, perhaps not the most appropriate way to describe that program or those products. They have extraction-based products only in Georgia, and they're limited at 5%. Now, before you write to me about 5% marijuana, 5% in the plant and 5% in the liquid are very, very, very different things. 5% in the liquid means 50 milligrams per milliliter. So that's a lot. Anyhow, you'll call it whatever you want. Just get people products. Right, exactly. Anyhow, Georgia unfortunately still has a ridiculous list of qualifying conditions, so maybe get away from that too, Georgia. You don't need to legislate healthcare like that. But good news, more access coming purportedly for more people in Georgia's medical cannabis program. All right, let's talk about things maybe more entertaining. Yeah, you're right, Tree, that doesn't work for everyone. Have you heard of CBN? Do you know what it does? I'll wait. Okay, not really. CBN is cannabinol, not cannabidiol. That's CBD. CBN is cannabinol, and CBN is helpful for sleep, at least according to the results of this clinical trial. There have been other studies done on this, and CBN in particular with other cannabinoids as well. But this was a double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled study about the safety and effects of CBN both with and without CBD on sleep quality. And the nighttime use of CBN in this trial did reduce sleep disturbances. So check that out. You can read all about it because I just dropped it in the comments for you. Or better yet, you could have had this email. You could have had this emailed to you yesterday. I could have delivered this to your inbox yesterday. I can still deliver it to your inbox tomorrow morning. Would you like that? Would you like this in your inbox tomorrow morning? I bet you would. Let me make that easy for you. Let me share this with you in the comments, friends, because NORML's Weekend Weed Read delivers every Saturday morning between 9 and 9:15 a.m. And you can subscribe super easy. Just click that link. Make sure you check the Weekend Weed Read box. Saturday morning, it's yours. It's right there. Get your coffee or whatever. Read all the stories. Right from me to you. So good. You'll also enjoy in the weekend read these next two pieces. Now this one, I almost feel bad sharing this with you, not because it's bad, but because you've heard it so many times. You've heard it so many times before, but you know what? We're going to tell you one more time. Yet another study, yet one more study shows marijuana dispensaries, state licensed marijuana dispensaries, are not related to spikes in local crime. In fact, we have a whole fact sheet on that, the societal impact of cannabis dispensaries, on the NORML website, just in case you're in a state where you're, or a locality where you're experiencing NIMBYism, not in my backyard, about dispensaries, because somehow that's going to increase crime, when generally it does literally the opposite. Thank you, Tree. I thought that was entertaining. And I've got one more good one for you, friends. And then I hope you have some burning questions for me. All right. This is a big number. And also, I still think it's probably not going to be a surprise to you, but 75% of truck drivers favor changes to federal marijuana testing regulations, and not just the drivers, but also their carriers. 62% of those from the motor carrier companies said that changes were needed to federal drug policy rules in light of state level legalization. So, and then 65% of all respondents, so both the drivers and the carriers, agreed that marijuana impairment testing should replace marijuana use testing. Good news to all of those surveyed: your companies can go buy that right now. You can buy that product. That product exists. You don't have to just wish that it existed. I mean, you can vote and lobby for change to federal testing policies, but those products already exist. You could reach out to Predictive Safety and get their alert meter. You can look at Druid. Peace to you as well, Daniel. Anyhow, interestingly, about 41% of all U.S. truck drivers reside in a jurisdiction where marijuana is legal for adults. And the survey's authors also acknowledge that existing federal testing regulations are contributing to the significant numbers of truck drivers who are leaving the industry, while also dissuading new workers from entering this workforce. So, hi, Matthew. Hi to you as well. That's what I had. That's what I had for you all. Actually, Anchorage did some. If you're interested in Alaska, the Anchorage Assembly voted this week to reform their testing policies, eliminating, revising regulations that will limit. That's a word that will limit employers' abilities to test for off-the-job use of cannabis. These new rules are going to take effect within 30 days, and then most non-safety sensitive employees will no longer be subject to either urine screening or other forms of drug testing that don't provide evidence of more recent use of cannabis, more recent meaning within 8 hours. Yeah. And then further, those who do fail a drug screen for cannabis exposure will no longer face immediate termination. So good news for everyone living in Anchorage, Alaska. I hope you're watching. Hope you're watching us from Anchorage, Alaska. My dad actually used to live in Anchorage, Alaska. Thanks, U.S. Air Force. And hey, I got one more good one for you. Since Paul put this out there, you will deserve to see it. We've had a few versions of this before, and I'm gonna share it with you again. Listen, nearly twice as many Americans believe that smoking tobacco is more hazardous to your health than smoking cannabis. They're right. The science is clear. Marijuana is safer than tobacco. You can read all about that in this NORML op-ed from NORML's own Paul Armentano. Dan F., thank you for asking this general question. Who's a Speaker of the House that would be helpful for cannabis legalization? I presume you mean at the federal level. And I believe that Jordan would be preferential. What do you think about that? Oh, look at that. Good news. We've been doing this show. While we've been doing this show, this is published. It's just published during the show. House Speaker Live, Republicans nominated Jim Jordan in a private vote. All right. So that's the answer. I mean, you at Cody. Of the available options. Of the available. Isn't tobacco a scheduled substance as well? No, tobacco is not scheduled. Neither tobacco nor alcohol are scheduled substances. Yeah, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Oh. Hey, John, you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. Let me see if I can. Okay. John is asking about dispensaries putting something in their product to make flour more dense. And do I know what people are talking about? Yes, people are talking about PGR. It's plant growth regulator. Yeah. That's what I can tell you about it. You can Google PGR and read all about it. It's apparently pretty controversial. I don't work for a MSO or a corporate cannabis, so I can't tell you all the ins and outs of cultivation on a massive scale, but I imagine there's someone here in this chat that can. But I do know that it's used to control plant growth and influence plant appearance. But yeah. That's what I know. There's so many articles out there you can learn to you can read all about it. Yes, it's tree. That's how elections work. Of the available options, garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, there are natural and synthetic types. Listen, reach out to your hi Marcy. Thank you. Hey, insulin type 1. Just love your name. You got your sample ballot today. I hope it's accurate. Don't know where you got it from, but I hope it's accurate. Appreciate you liking our resources. If you want to know who's on your ballot and where they stand on cannabis policy, you can head to vote.normal.org. Got that information for you there. I know you're diabetic. We've had this conversation before, hence the insulin type 1. It's just always entertaining to say it. Oh. Ah, you guys have such great things to say today. You're my favorite audience. Did I tell you all the news? I did tell you all of the news and then some. But I also want to tell you a few more things. Now, listen, I don't want you to leave this wonderful live stream moment we're having together. And I know that you're watching us. I can see you're watching us on Facebook. You're watching us on Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week. Maybe it's still functional. Who knows? I know you're watching us on YouTube. I can see you there. I can see you watching us on LinkedIn. Hi, Dawn. But where you can't watch us, even though it's owned by Facebook, is on Instagram. But you should still follow our content there because it's great. And that's where we do giveaways. And we have a pretty big one coming up. I don't know what Monday, presumably not this Monday, because I don't have it on the calendar yet, but we start our giveaways on Mondays. And we have a big one coming up. So make sure you're following us on Instagram. Please and thank you. Let's see, can I put my own comment up there? Oh, yes, I can. Look at that. All right. We talked about Instagram. We talked about the weekend weed read, which you're definitely going to subscribe to. It's probably time for you to start doing some holiday shopping or something like that. It's never too early to start. Why not help legalize it? Hit up the NORML store. There's hoodies. Maybe it's cool where you are. If not, there's short sleeve t-shirts from my friends in Florida. Hit up the NORML store. Help give the gift of legalization. Okay, Joshua, you're hoping for an update on Virginia and its future. Here's what's up, Virginia. Actually, just talked to Marijuana Moment about this, and they will have an article coming up soon, specifically on what the election means for the future of cannabis policy in Virginia. So thanks for asking, Joshua. Here's the deal. Right now, early voting has begun in Virginia, so you can go vote right now. And there are 3 possible outcomes, okay? Every seat in the Senate and every seat in the House is up for election. The administration, so the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, that's not changing. Glenn Youngkin is going to be the governor for this next year and 2025. So we have 2 more legislative sessions with this guy. And there is a limit to what can be accomplished during this administration. Okay? But there are 3 possible makeups of the Virginia legislature. Right now, the Senate is controlled by Democrats and the House is controlled by Republicans. So there's a divided government. There's no path forward, given the administration's opposition, vocal, on the record opposition to any expansion of cannabis in Virginia. There's no path forward because all the bills could succeed in the Senate. They go to the House. The administration calls House leadership and says, kill the bill. That's it. It's done. It's done. It doesn't matter that they're Republican bills. It doesn't matter that there are votes for it, because that's not how it works in the legislative process, particularly when it comes to the Republican caucus. The administration says jump, and the caucus says how high. And they jump exactly as high as they're told. They're not going to go against what the administration tells them to do. They're not going to go against what House, which in this case is the House, because that's the caucus leadership, tells them to do. That's just it. That's why we don't have adult use retail, because we have a divided government and the administration is opposed. And so the House just tables the bills, and that's the end of it. Now, we could come back to the same thing for the next 2 sessions. And if that's the case, we're going to get a whole lot more of nothing done. It's just going to be continuing to, wait it out, wait for the Youngkin administration to be over and see if we can get someone better in there next time. Or Democrats could come back and control the Senate and the House. If they did, then Democrats could advance a very pragmatic, and it would have to be pragmatic, it would have to be palatable to Governor Youngkin. If they sent him a bill that he did not like, he would veto it, and there would not be enough votes to overturn a veto. So they could send him a gentle step forward toward adult use. They could absolutely do that. Something like turning on sales at, existing operators, like literally every other state does when it expands from medical to adult use. Yes, except for New York, and New York is a terrible example of legalization rollout, so don't come at me with that. So that's kind of like the, pragmatic approach that might be palatable. He might be willing to let that take effect without his signature. Or, and here's the big one, okay, Joshua? Republicans can control the House and the Senate. And then you could reasonably expect the rollback of a number of provisions that were enacted in the 2021 legalization bill. Virginia could be the first state to shove that toothpaste back in the tube. That's embarrassing. But it's the reality. That's what's on the table in this election. So, right, Tree? Marijuana isn't on the ballot in Virginia in this November election, but in reality it is. Because who you elect is just going to make our laws. Because elections have consequences. So make good choices, friends. Thanks for asking, Joshua. I got to use both of my props from Sherry. Hey, if anyone's in, the tri-state area, so like Maryland, DC, Virginia, if you're up in that northern DMV, and you need a tattoo, you should go out to Ink Sanity Tattoo. They had us out there for a fundraiser this last weekend. It was incredible. We had such a blast, and they're such fantastic partners for us here in Virginia. Thank you so much for your support for NORML. Everyone go check them out. I'm not, okay, great. You got your zip up hoodie, Tree. I have one right here. All the hoodies, just in case I get You need a trucker hat with the logo tree. I literally have one, like, I can see it from here. I'm getting it. Someone actually sent this to us as a sample, and I've been meaning to do a giveaway with it on our Instagram. So thanks for that reminder, tree. I'll just put that right. I'll just put that right there so you can see it. It's hemp for some reason. I don't know if that means that like it disintegrates when it gets wet, but it's made out of hemp. You know who that joke was for. I don't have any news for you on the federal farm bill, Dan. Oh, Marcy, thank you. Look, I can't help it if closed captioning knows what it's doing. All right, everyone, this has been great, but it's almost the weekend, and so let's get out of here. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me. We try to do this every week. Make sure you hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. If you're watching this afterward and you have questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments. We try to follow up with you over the weekend while we're supposed to be doing things like relaxing or whatever. Hey, this has been a blast. I would love to see you back here next time. Have a great weekend, and thanks so much for joining us. Bye-bye.